Welcome to my Sticky Note Quickie episode from this week's Blender Business Show. I'm your host, Producer Jaime. This week, our episodes are brought to you by Flintstone Media, and we'll get to my sticky note in just a moment. But first, here's our clip of the week, pulled from our full episode titled, Networking to Level Up Your Business and Content Creation. The secret sauce to networking is setting a goal for yourself. That's it. It's that simple. It's not really that earth-shattering. It's really simple. At least as long as you actually stick to the goal and you don't quit before you've accomplished it, right? If you stick to it, you wait until you reach that goal, it can have an amazing effect on your networking, pretty much no matter what that goal is. Because first and foremost, the goal can directly impact your sales and business growth, right? That's kind of like a duh. If you're setting up sales meetings or what have you, then that's an impact directly onto your sales growth and your business growth. But what the goal is really doing is forcing your ass to stay there, stay in that space, stay in that networking opportunity until you accomplish that goal. It's keeping your ass there. So welcome to my Sticky Note Quickie for this week's Blender Business Show. So now that you know both the superpower and the secret sauce of networking, I'm sure you're all geared up and jazzed to start doing a bunch of it. But how do you find ways to network? And then how do you prepare for them? So first, finding them. Well, there are ways to let a lot of those opportunities come to you. Sign up for as many newsletters as you can handle while still maintaining your inbox sanity. For example, you can go to flintstonemedia.com/contact to sign up for ours. I'm just saying. But newsletters are often the first place where organizations announce upcoming events. So find some good ones to support your interests and target customer base. Join Facebook groups where your customer base and potential partners live, play, and otherwise gather for discussions. Are you selling men's shavers? Great! Join groups about grooming tips, man cave stuff, and other groups and pages where your target audience will gather. Selling bookkeeping services? Awesome! Join some groups that feature business owners, accounting tips, etc. You can also visit websites from your local community to see what events are coming up that you can attend in person. Think of your local library, small business association, local industry groups, things like that. Check out their calendars and follow them on social media to keep up with what they have coming up. And while you're there, get on their mailing lists as well. Also, join a local meetup or two that may get you in the same space as your target audience. And I'm going to include a link in the show notes to an episode I did back in the day for a former show of mine called Podcasting Your Brand. It's what Business in the Bedroom ended up turning into. But that show is all about building your brand through the power of podcasting. And on episode 35, I talked about examining your ecosystem. The intention of that episode was to take the listener through a process that would help them establish a healthy list of potential guests, partners, sponsors, etc., to launch their show on a very solid footing. But the exercise that it takes the listener through can really help you as well. It breaks down the 5 categories of your ecosystem, helping you think through who belongs to yours. And for the context of this show, it can help you set yourself up with a solid networking strategy by giving you a list of people to begin conversations with right away. So check out the show notes for that link to episode 35 of Podcasting Your Brand. But there are also ways to create your own networking opportunities, such as creating your own meetup group or creating webinars. But that's a bit beyond the scope of this sticky note, so we'll put a pin in that for a future episode. And moving on to preparing for networking, I have to start with the simple notion of just always being prepared for networking. That means having business cards or a QR code connected to your contact info or whatever you prefer to use. Have that readily available at all times, no matter where you are. Expect the unexpected, because you never know when you're going to accidentally find yourself in a perfect networking opportunity. You could be standing in line in a store and overhear a conversation in front of you, and they just happen to be talking about the thing that you are an expert in. Wouldn't that be an amazing time to delicately chime in and offer some valuable advice? And then you can just share your business card with them, in case they have any other questions. This has actually happened to me multiple times. And I recently shared a business card with someone at my local comic shop. We started out with a great conversation about the books that he writes, which led to me throwing out a pretty cool idea. So I gave him my card and asked him to email me. Well, when I tell you that has turned into an ongoing conversation that looks like it's leading to even bigger things than I ever could have anticipated, I'm still pinching myself. And it's a story that I intend to bring to you a little later as things are still in the works. But I have a feeling it's going to be big. And it all started because I am always prepared with some business cards. But I also want you to be intentional in hitting the pavement to find yourself some networking opportunities. The tips I'm going to be sharing in this sticky note can be best applied or adapted for certain types of networking situations, such as in-person events, virtual events, meetups, social events and parties, and community events, especially those that are organized by an SBA, a small business association, local government branch, or a charity. And I'm going to split these into two categories. We'll call them hub and spoke. Hub opportunities are ones where you're a speaker, host, MC, organizer, etc. In other words, you are part of the planning and programming of that event in some way, shape, or form. I've had the honor of being a speaker, panelist, MC, and organizer of various events over the years. And not only is it great overall exposure and a ton of fun, but those also create wonderful spaces for networking as well. There are a lot of networking-related opportunities that are generated during the planning phases of events, but once again, that is beyond the scope of this sticky note. There is a lot to networking, and I don't want to overwhelm you by piling it all in this sticky note. So I hate to say it one more time, but networking-related opportunities that are generated during the planning phases of events are also beyond the scope of this sticky note. I do have an upcoming episode planned where it will be perfect to share those ideas, so expect that to come down the road. But back to what's in scope for this sticky note. If you're speaking at an event and are using slides, then be sure to have calls to action in those slides that allow people in the audience to easily follow up with you. And really drive home the value of them doing that so that they go to your website, follow your social media account, scan your QR code, whatever. And when putting your presentation together, be especially sure to note on your last slide, the slide that will stay up during your Q&A, put your contact information up on there. You can also have a short bullet list of reasons why people would want to follow up with you later. If you want to know more about this, if you have questions about that, if you're facing this kind of struggle or hurdle, etc. Another trick I've both seen and employed is having your website in small print in the corner of every slide. Not only is it then ever present while you're up there speaking, but if the people in the audience take any pictures of your slides in order to capture that great tip or data set or whatever it is that you've included, then it's captured with the URL, where they can then get in touch with you to gain even more information and possibly work with you. And one last value add for your presentation is to let your audience know that they can get a copy of your presentation slides directly in their inbox. All they have to do is to sign up for your newsletter, DM you on social media, or whatever call to action makes sense for you to keep the conversation going. And after your presentation is over, be sure to decide ahead of time that you're going to spend X amount of time in the hallways afterwards. That way, if people have more questions for you, you can keep the conversation going when the iron is hot, and without tying up the room for the next speaker. You can even further this effort by deciding on a later time in the event schedule when you'll be available at a particular location at that venue, say a seating area in the hallway or an on-location bar or wherever, and invite your audience to meet you there for some extra fun and conversation. I would also advise that you plan that time very strategically by looking at the rest of the event schedule and trying to predict when most people will be fairly free, yet still on site. And lastly, try not to reserve all of your networking time at your hub events for potential customers. Make sure you save some of that time for your peers. These would be fellow speakers, the event organizers, and others involved in the behind the scenes of things. This type of networking will be very different, but just as if not even more, important than your general hallway mingling. By shaking hands with your peers, you will form connections that could be parlayed into future speaking engagements, possible partnerships, and other such things that can lead to big up levels of your business. In fact, there are oftentimes pre-scheduled meet and greets already planned for the speakers at an event, so be sure you're aware of any such thing. Get your pass for it and wrap the rest of your schedule around it. So that's how to prepare to network at hub networking opportunities. But what about spoke networking opportunities? What the heck are they? With spoke networking opportunities, these are times when you are not otherwise involved in the planning or programming of the event. Rather, you're an attendee with free, open range. Look ahead to the event's schedule, especially in the case of conferences, as there are often multiple tracks happening at the same time, so you want to figure out ahead of time where you want to be and when. This will allow you to maximize your time outside of the speaker rooms, and that is very important. For one, you'll want to have time to run into those speakers that you wanted to ask a few more questions from, if you didn't have a chance right after their presentation. Plus, you'll want time to head to the vendor area and see what they have going on. There could be a new product or service offering just waiting to solve a problem or further growth in some way for you. And some of my best partnership opportunities have come from getting to know the vendors at an event. So be sure to give yourself time to try and meet them all. And when you're networking as a general attendee, you simply just want time in the hallways. Talk to other attendees, ask questions, let them know what you're working on, and exchange contact info so you can follow up with them later. And regarding that piece of the puzzle, you can end up with a pretty healthy to-do list after attending an event, especially a conference where you're visiting lots of rooms with lots of speakers and writing down a lot of notes. So be sure to set aside at least about a half a day after the event, not doing any of that, not doing anything regarding what you've learned or the notes that you've taken. Instead, you're going to take that half a day after the event to do some intentional follow-up with those people that you've met. And regardless of whether it is a hub event or a spoke event for you, remember to employ my trick to help you battle any nerves you may have. It's simple. Set a reasonable goal and force yourself to stay at the networking event until you've hit that goal. This week, our episodes are brought to you by Flintstone Media. Be sure to catch the full episode with all my thoughts on the subject on the main show feed. Just look up Blender Business Show on your favorite podcast player. And if you're a business owner, marketing manager, or content creator, join in the conversation with other Blender members on our Slack channel, which you can find the link for, along with everything else, at blenderbizshow.com. We are the Blender community, where business and media mix.